Earth observation is one of the key focus areas of the European Space Agency. Over the years, ESA has developed several cutting-edge Earth observation satellites. Biomass is one such satellite. Scheduled to launch this April, it will monitor forest biomass for carbon estimation. To find out more, I spoke to Klaus Schippal, who is the mission manager of Biomass. I started by asking him about the role played by satellites in monitoring forests and environment.
So forests play a very crucial role in the global carbon cycle, and they can help us to really fight the climate crisis. There's a lot of unresolved questions, scientific questions still, how these forests work and how the dynamics work also on the changing climate. Satellites can really help us to answer some of these questions, because they are by nature a global observing system that provides consistent data. All this data is freely available to the community. So by having these data sets available, I think we can answer a lot of questions regarding how forests are changing, their dynamics and the underlying mechanisms.
Could you provide a brief overview of ESA satellites that have monitored forests over the years?
So ESA is active in monitoring forests since decades. We have a range of satellites that are observing forests, especially in our Copernicus system, where we have, for example, the Sentinel-2 imaging system. So it's an optical imaging system that looks at changing land cover, so how forests are changed into pasture land, for example, or how forests are recovering. We have Sentinel-1 is a radar satellite that is not really made for observing forests, but that received a lot of attention because radar can penetrate into the forest canopy, so it's sensitive to the stems and to the branches where most of the carbon is stored. So we can use this, for example, to estimate biomass on a global scale consistently. And more recently, we have worked on dedicated observation systems. So we're building the Biomass satellite, and this satellite is really designed to measure biomass. We will look with a new system, P-band SAR, for the first time in space on forests, and that will give us an unprecedented data set of forest cover, of biomass, forest height information.
What are the different technologies deployed on the satellites for monitoring forests?
So on satellites we can use different technologies. In Europe, we use a lot of radar technology. Radar is an active system, so it sends out a signal that is reflected from the forest. And the more forest you have, the more biomass you have in the forest, the more signal you receive back. So you can, from this signal, estimate biomass. There's other techniques. There's optical sensors, very high resolution optical sensors, for example, that allow you to observe the canopy cover. That allow you to observe single trees and estimate biomass from these measurements. And finally, there is LiDAR technology that sends out a pulse, a LiDAR pulse that allows you to measure very accurately forest height, and from this forest height you can estimate biomass.
And finally, can you tell us about Biomass? What are its specifications and what will it do?
So Biomass is a new satellite. It's launched in our science program, where we look at new technologies, looking in new ways on our planet, answering science questions that have so far not been answered. Biomass will address in particular the global carbon cycle and how forests act in this global carbon cycle. It will use a complete new technology. A P-band SAR has never been flown in space. It's the longest wavelengths we can use from space, or the lowest frequency we can use from space. This allows us to penetrate deep into the canopy of a forest, and by that we get the sensitivity to the big branches, to the big stems, and we get a more direct estimate of the biomass that is stored in this forests. We will also use new technology in the way how we process the data. It will be processed similar to a CT scan in a hospital, so you get a 3D image of the forest, of course in very coarse resolution, so not as detailed as a CT scan in a hospital, but it gives you 3D information, and that's really unique, and that's the first time we can do this.